I would like to take this time to welcome all of our young people here at the Jackson Graham Building, which is the headquarters for the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, we know as Metro. I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank all of the adults who brought you here on today. I'd like to thank the mayor for extending this opportunity for our young people throughout the District of Columbia, which truly speaks to his commitment to improving the quality of life for our youth here in D.C. I'd like to thank a few other people before we go along. I'd like to, again, thank Metro. The Metro, actually, we reached out to Metro several months back, the Youth Advisory Council, that is, and we began to partner and to do some work around public safety on the Metro. And Metro has had a series of forums here for our young people, and they were so gracious to partner with us in hosting today's event. So we'd like to give them a round of applause and to thank them as well. As well as our Parks and Recreation, DC Cable, TV 16, DCPS, DDOT, as well as MPD. We'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank the Director of the Office of Community Affairs, my supervisor, Mr. Stephen Glaudet, who's very supportive. He's in the back there, who was very supportive and instrumental in assisting us with today's event, as well as my staff member, Mr. Peter Blue, who's in the back there. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge a wonderful group of young people that I have the opportunity to work with on a regular basis, and they've been very committed and really excited about the work of being representatives for youth in the District of Columbia, and that is the DC Youth Advisory Council. And we have some of our members who are here today from our executive team. If you could stand at this time, just a few. You all stand, just a few. Okay, I'd like to thank them and acknowledge them. In pulling together today's event, we had a number of agencies that reached out to us to have resource tables. So I'd like to take this time to acknowledge MPD. We have a resource table from MPD, and for those of you who are interested in some of the giveaways back there, all you have to do is go back there and get a copy of the curfew manual that they created, and you can get a prize for that. I'd also like to acknowledge, let's see, there's Jefferson Middle School, which is my old middle school, and they have a wonderful table back there as well, Metro Voice. And we also want to acknowledge the I Promise program, as well as the Achiever Scholars. They're also here on today. So I'd like to thank everyone for having a hand in pulling together today's event, and to thank the mayor again. This is actually our 16th town hall, Mr. Mayor, and you know, I'm just excited to continue to be a part of this work. Before I introduce the next person on our agenda, I'd like to acknowledge that the next Youth Town Hall meeting will be held on Saturday, April the 20th, and it will be held from 11 to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Charles Sumner School Museum and Archives, located at 1201 17th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. And during that town hall, the mayor will discuss with our youth the FY 2014 budget for children and youth in the District of Columbia. So we're excited about that, and we invite you all to come out. And if for more information, you can feel free to contact the District of Columbia Youth Advisory Council office. All right, so at this time, I'd like to get out of the way and introduce a wonderful young lady. She's a senior at Woodrow Wilson Senior High School, resident of Ward 5, and she actually will be attending the University of North Carolina at Greensboro this coming fall. And she actually is the chair of the DC Youth Advisory Council, and at this time, I'd like to bring forth Ms. Cherie Smith-Taylor.
Good afternoon. Well, like Mr. Jennings said, my name is Cherie Smith-Taylor. I'm the chair of the Mayor's DC Youth Advisory Council. I'm very, very excited to be here because how many of you complain about Metro on a daily basis? Raise your hand. I know I do. I always do. I have to catch the train from Ward 5, Rhode Island Avenue, all the way up to Tenleytown, which is 15 stops. I know them all by heart. I'm gonna get down to the business. I go to Woodrow Wilson Senior High School. I am a senior. I'm a proud, very proud Lady Tiger. what can I say about this? Public safety is very, very important in this city. We are stereotyped as students and as, just young adults in this city. We're stereotyped as loud, crazy, ghetto, we sing like monkeys on the train. That's the kind of perception that they give off on us. And public safety, it's not just sitting there being quiet. It's also letting someone know who doesn't ride the train, letting them know that you shouldn't hold your phone 4 feet away from you. You should hold it into you. Letting them know that stand out the doors, because if you stand in that door and you make me late for school, it's gonna be a problem. And we live in this city where Metro is very important. So we have to respect it, and we have to treat it as if it's our mom or dad's car, and you don't want French fries stains on the floor. You have to treat it like it's your baby, because it is a privilege. And I did learn that it is a privilege, and they can't take it away from us. They can ban us from a station. You can't go inside of it. You can't get on a certain bus, and it's a privilege for us. And I'm very glad to say that we live in a city where our mayor, Mayor Gray, he cares about us. And so I thank him personally for having these town hall meetings where we can come up and voice our opinions about everyday things, school, Metro, and anything else. So without further ado, I would like to bring up our very, very honorable mayor, Vincent C. Gray.
Good afternoon, everybody. Isn't she impressive? She's going to be a star for the District of Columbia down in Greensboro. In fact, we got a lot of big doings right now in Greensboro, don't we? We got the ACC tournament, basketball tournaments in Greensboro. I guess it's in Greensboro this year. Usually is. And the University of Maryland, which is, I guess, the closest team we have in the ACC, won a big game against Duke last night. Yeah, beat Duke for the second time this season. So again, Cherie, thank you very much for your introduction. And it's wonderful to be a proud high school graduate in the city. I'm a proud high school graduate of the public schools of the District of Columbia. Mine is Dunbar High School. And we have our chief, our fire chief, who's here today. He is a proud graduate also. That would be Coolidge High School, wouldn't it, Chief?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think every time the Chief and I go to a Dunbar Coolidge game, Coolidge comes in second. And we both had the opportunity to play at our respective schools when we were coming along 433 years ago. But anyway, in addition to the Chief, I want to thank Cedric for the work that he does with our Youth Advisory Council and with our youth. For those of you who don't know, I like to talk about Cedric's background because it really is impressive. He is a graduate as well of our public schools, the District of Columbia. He graduated from Ballou High School, and then he went on to get a degree from Brown University, which is an Ivy League school. He got a degree from Michigan University, and he got a degree from Harvard University. So he has a very impressive educational background, and frankly is a great role model for all of you young people, for those who think they can't achieve in certain ways or get to certain places because of certain impediments. You should never let an impediment be the reason why you don't get to where you want to get to, and he didn't. He could have drawn a conclusion which some people draw, and that is, if you are, if you grow up in and live in, I live in Southeast. If you live in Southeast, that somehow you're not going to get anywhere, and obviously he didn't do that. So Cedric, I want to thank you once again for being in this role, and I want to thank you for being a role model for our young people. We also have Steve Glaudet, who heads our Office of Community Affairs. As a lot of stuff goes on in there, right, Steve? And yeah, and he does it with grace. And the youth programs are in his area. He's got all the, like the Office of Latino Affairs, the Office of African Affairs, and just a whole panoply of programs that he has in there, and does it extremely well. And where did Peter go? Oh, there he is back there, okay. And Peter Blue came over from the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute to work with us, and boy, what a great addition he has been. He's done great work with young people, and we're really glad to have Peter working with us every day. So this is, as Cedric said, this is the 16th town hall meeting we've had since I've been the mayor, and I frankly think you learn something if you get out and listen to our young folks, listen to what they have to say. And, Cherie, I appreciate what you said also, because you're right, I do want to hear what our youth have to say. And I haven't left one of these meetings yet, one of these town hall meetings, without a good idea having been put on the table. And we certainly need good ideas for so many areas of our city. And the subject of today's meeting is one of those, where we want to have good ideas. It's also a great way to learn to participate in what we call a civic process in the city. Hopefully you all will want to be leaders in the city as you grow up, as you get older, that you will want to be an advisory neighborhood commissioner, or you want to be a council member or a board of education member, or a mayor of the city. And there's no reason why you can't. And this is a great way to learn about those opportunities and the issues that you need to be focused on. So, again, I want to thank you for coming out to share your ideas. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the city today, right, Steve? We were talking about that when we were coming in. First of all, OSSI, which is our Office of the State Superintendent for Education, is having a college expo today. I went to that last year, and it was really quite good. They're doing it at the Howard Theater, the historic Howard Theater. How many of y'all have been in the Howard Theater since it has been renovated? Good. It'd be nice if we had everybody. We need to figure out, maybe we need to do a town hall meeting at the Howard Theater, Cedric. Why don't we do that? I'm sure they would let us do it, since I guess we still own the building, right? But they've done a great job. The people who have conceived of the Howard Theater in its current day iteration have done a great job. Also, how many in here, those of you who are at least 14, and by the way, I'm glad to see some that I know are not 14 in here today. It's great to have our really young people. How many of you already signed up for the Summer Youth Employment Program? Okay. Those of you who haven't, I don't know why you haven't. It's a great opportunity. Everybody who signs up for the Summer Youth Employment Program is guaranteed of getting a job. And this year, even more so than last year, we're going to have more opportunities because we are really working hard to get our young people involved in technology. And we may have a town hall meeting on technology coming up in the next few months also. How many of you know what technology is? Good. You don't be shy. You just hold your hand up. I'm not going to call on you. I just want to see who's involved in it. I went down to Austin, Texas last weekend, Chief, and we were there to help promote technology in the District of Columbia. And it is really growing. There's a lot of jobs that will be developed. We're creating more educational opportunities, especially in our public education, in our charters, and in our DC public schools for young people to learn about technology. But believe it or not, we now have over 20,000 jobs in the city that are focused on technology, and they're going to grow rapidly because we're working to bring more firms, to help more firms grow in the city. So those are the kind of jobs, some of the jobs we're going to have for over 14,000 young people who will be working in the Summer Youth Employment Program this summer. And the Department of Employment Services, led by Director Mallory, they've done a really good job of working with the Summer Youth Employment Program over the last several years. We don't have situations anymore where people don't get paid and don't get paid on time and don't have an assignment. It really is a learning experience. So they are out today continuing to do certification. The MPD is also having an event today. Their cadet program for young people ages 17 to 21. They are recruiting people. And what a great way to start a career in law enforcement, and that is being a cadet with MPD. And I think the Youth Advisory Council is starting to recruit now. Is that right, Cedric? Next month. a great experience. We had a swearing-in ceremony not so long ago for a lot of the Youth Advisory Council members at the Sumner School. Remember that, guys? At the Sumner School, and that was a lot of fun. And you learn leadership skills. You know, if you're lucky, you'll be able to stand up and talk as well as Cherie did a few minutes ago. And you do. You learn a lot of skills that are associated with that. In any event, they've been partnering with Metro. Is that right, Cedric? The Youth Advisory Council has been partnering with Metro, and I think that makes a lot of sense. With Metro, WMATA, I guess is the right name for it, MPD, and other law enforcement agencies to try to figure out how we bring more order to how young people especially behave themselves on our buses, on our Metro. I'm sure every one of you has had the experience of being on a bus or being on a Metro subway and seeing people act out, you know, playing music and, you know, getting involved with people, talking loud, saying things they shouldn't be saying, and really, I'll call it misbehaving. I could say it a lot worse than that. But we're really fortunate to be able to be at the headquarters, at the Jackson Graham building here today. And we have a gentleman who is involved with Metro who is going to address us today. And then we're going to open it up for some of your thoughts. What we want is not only for you to tell us what the problems are, but we really want to hear from you all about some of the solutions. The folks from Jefferson, and I read this, just so you know. It was they call it the Educational Shield that was put together. Really clever. There may be a couple of ideas that we can use in here to, you know, improve public safety for our young people. So the young people from Jefferson, I want to congratulate you on taking the initiative to do this and to think through how we might improve public safety, especially public safety inside of our schools. They even went through and counted up the number of fatalities that we've had in educational environments over the last 20 years. I think it's almost 400, like 387 or something like that. And so, excellent job. And that's the kind of initiative that we need from all of our students to say, you know what, that doesn't define all of us. It doesn't even define most of us. And we're going to work to try to, you know, improve the perception of young people. Now, I got a guy back there in the last row. See that gentleman right there sitting next to you?
Yes.
Yeah, would you wake him up, please?
I tried to.
Yeah, okay.
I've been out for quite some time.
Has he really?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, I take personal umbrage at that, you know.
He,
Is he going to be able to make it?
I think so, and if not, we can take him out of the room.
No, we wouldn't do, that's too easy.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's too easy. We would like him to sit there and pay attention.
And by the way, we did have the kids out very early this morning to make the earlier presentation. And
Okay.
so they're kind of tired.
Uh-huh. How early were they out?
They had to meet us at the subway at 11 o'clock. So their parents had to get them up in
11 o'clock?
11 o'clock. We were told that this program started at 12. Yeah.
You mean, now,
Meet us at this.
that's so nice of you to make excuses for them, but I'm not as kind, okay? 11 o'clock, what time do they get to school during the week?
8:45.
Oh, that would be about 2 hours earlier than 11 o'clock, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I see, okay. Well,
Yeah.
young man, you gonna be all right? The young man right in front of you? Yes, you, sir. Yes. Would y'all do me? Would you take your jacket off and make yourself comfortable? And see what I do sometimes is I walk through the audience and I just pick out somebody. And sometimes folk look at me like don't have a clue what I said because they weren't paying attention. You have teachers that do that to you? Yes, you. No. No, your teachers don't call on you?
Oh, yeah.
Huh? They do. Well, you wouldn't sit up in your teacher's classroom and do that, would you? Huh?
I think he's still asleep.
You wouldn't sit up in your teacher's classroom and go to sleep, would you? Huh? Okay, well, then don't do that to us today, all right? That would be so nice of you. And the gentleman behind you, he's really, you know, gotten himself together. So let me just say this to you. The first people that I call on are the ones who I think are not paying attention. You know what I mean? You with me on that one? Sir? No, yes, you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that very much. What school do you go to?
Randall Highlands.
What?
Randall Highlands.
Randall Highlands. That school is right around the corner from where I live. Now, you know you got to make us proud, okay? Right around there on Pennsylvania Avenue. What is it? Westover Drive, 30th and Pennsylvania Avenue? Mm-hmm, right across from Pennsylvania Avenue Baptist Church.
Yes.
And I live right around on Branch Avenue. See that? See, he's alert. He's ready to roll over. He's got his hand up. We don't even have a question on the floor.
That's Randall Highlands SGA. A lot of the SGA.
He's
yes.
from Randall Highlands too?
Yes. A lot of these.
Well, that's
students
good.
here.
He's making you proud over here.
Great.
All right. Listen, we have a gentleman from Metro who is with us today who's going to talk a little bit about some of the issues that we face every day. And I know Metro is challenged by youth public safety on our buses and on our subway. So, Ron Pavlik, we're going to ask you to come up and talk to us if you would, sir. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. As the mayor said, my name is Ron Pavlik, and I'm responsible for the Patrol Operations Bureau for the Transit Police. And basically, for those who don't know, that's basically the day-to-day happenings at Metro as far as the police department is concerned. We feel it's important to reach out to our youth. Our youth, as you know, we're not like a suburb where the Metro is the school bus, so to speak. So we're responsible for getting everybody to and from school as safely as possible without any incident or injuries. Also mixed in with the 50,000 students or so in the District of Columbia is our regular riders. You know, about 45% of our daily riders are federal government employees, and the rest of the riders are regular customers. Any given day between Metro Bus and Metro Rail, we're moving about 1.2 million people. So we're challenged every day. And one thing we really want to bring the youth's attention to is Metro inherently is a dangerous place. If you're horse playing on the platform or running around and you fall into the track bed where the trains come, first of all, it's about a 4-foot drop, and you're likely to hit your head or some other body part on the railway. And then not to mention our trains can't stop quickly. If that train's coming into a station and the ability for that train to stop, they can't stop quickly. Metal on metal just doesn't work. So we really want to bring to the youth's attention how dangerous Metro is just inherently by what we do every day. And the same holds true in the bus bays. If you look at Anacostia this past week, we had a 9-year-old struck by a bus. This 9-year-old child ran out in front of a bus. Bus just couldn't stop in time. Fortunately, the child wasn't severely injured, knocked him to the ground, probably scared him more than anything. And those are the kind of incidents we just want to avoid at Metro. Your safety, getting to and from school and back to home is our most important, our goal, our important value. So we really want to wake up the youth and bring their attention to what it's all about. Sometimes Metro Transit Police get a bad rap. We're not trying to arrest youth, and it's not something we want to arrest our way out of. We just simply want to educate the youth, make them aware of what's happening at Metro, bring to their attention, and kind of have these type of forums that says, we're here to help you. We want to make sure you get to and from your school or back home each and every day. We're doing a lot of different things to try to bring you all together. We're launching a very aggressive campaign right now, our Youth Advisory Committee, working with DC Youth, and then some very partnerships. We're trying to get some local media involved as far as the local radio stations. We hired a new marketing director who's going to help us with that. She's at Baltimore MTA. So we have a lot of good ideas coming, and we hope they're going to keep on coming to get you all involved. So basically we're here today, like the mayor said, to basically hear what some of your concerns are, what we could do to improve the communication, the relationship between the Transit Police Department and the youth of the city. We're looking at Twitter and things like that. We have a lot of people who follow us on Metro e-alerts. Maybe create a Metro alert that's just geared towards youth. And these type of outreaches, and try to help you help us, because it's all about a community at the end of the day and getting you to and from school without anybody getting injured. So today we're here to answer any questions, take in on any concerns you all might have, and listen to your feedback and comments. So thank you.
All right, well, I guess we've talked long enough, and now we want to hear from you all. You heard Deputy Chief Pavlik You heard him talk about at least one situation that is a problem, and that is people horseplaying around, not paying attention, and doing things that get them in difficulty, like somebody running out in front of a bus, or somebody playing around in a metro station and maybe falling down into the area where the trains run, right? But there are others too, and other concerns I have, and that is how our young people actually behave themselves on the buses and on our metro. So also I want to acknowledge that we've had our Assistant Chief, Diane Grooms, who's joined us. We're glad to have you, Chief Grooms. We appreciate you being here. So we've got MPD, we've got Metro here, and we've got a lot of young people here who we want to hear from. I'm curious, what are some of the issues that you all observe on our public transportation, or our buses? Yes. Can you stand up so everybody can hear you in here?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
One issue that I noticed on the metro is when an emergency or something happens, it's not really a safe place to kind of inform when there's an emergency. Like, I know there's the emergency buttons around the area, but as a pedestrian or a bystander, you really don't want to get involved in anybody else's conflict to protect your own safety.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there should be a safer way to kind of remain anonymous in reporting issues in order to protect yourself.
You have any thoughts on how we might be able to address that?
Maybe, I know we talked about this at one of our DC YAC meetings, but maybe we could have almost an app or even something closer to home on our phones to kind of be able to press when we notice something is going on, but we really don't want to be put at the forefront as being the informant or tattletale.
What would the app do, and to whom would it be directed?
Maybe the app could go directly to the Metro Police or even MPD, and if you press it, it sends an alert and it gives your location and lets them know where you're at and what's going on.
That's actually a pretty good idea. And I think we have the technological capability to be able to do that. Chief?
Very good question, and we have actually a good answer for that. MPD, and we always partner with Metro Transit. We do have an anonymous tip line, and it's used every day, and the text alert is 50, as you know, for police, 411 for information. So if you put on your phones 50, 411, and you put what you need, like maybe the location and what's going on, we will respond.
Okay.
And it's anonymous.
To what extent are people using it now, Chief?
Actually, already today, I've got probably 20 text tips, and a lot of it's about drug dealing, disorderlies, some people hanging out. A lot of citizens and youth do use it to let us know where to go when they do not want to be identified. However, we will always promote, to call 911, the citywide system for all agencies to get you there, so we have a record as well.
Do you happen to know, this might be an unfair question, but how many times it gets used in a given day on average?
I believe probably at least 50 to maybe, it varies.
Really?
Like on weekends, it might be a little heavier, especially when the weather warms up. We get a lot more text tips. And then we do have a gun tip line that leads to gun recoveries, and that has really been useful for us as well.
Okay. Chief, since you have the microphone, I'm going to ask you, I know that MPD doesn't have jurisdiction in the Metro system. That is the Metro Police. But I'm sure you all are acquainted with incidents that may occur in or around the system. Are there any that you can share with us, especially involving our young people?
Well, very good point. Again, MPD as well as Metro every day, and a lot of you, if you go to Ballou, Kip up on Douglas, if you go to Friendship on Minnesota Avenue, you'll see MPD, you'll see Metro Transit Police. We're always at the Minnesota Avenue Metro, Anacostia Avenue Metro, Congress Heights Metro, 14th and Irving Metro. Also in Southwest, we're at that Metro a lot, and we do partner with them, and not just standing by the Metro entrance. We're outside the schools, We're outside in the area on the streets trying to safely cross a lot of our youth and also citizens in the area. Our most challenging metro, however, has been Anacostia.
Why is that?
We, unfortunately, I know Metro just announced they just got a gentleman with a gun down there. The other day, the chief's robbery intervention team actually arrested 3 young youth. All 3 had guns in the Congress Heights Metro the other day. They were doing robberies, and I know a lot of you probably have heard this in the schools, and the chief has been on the news. The mayor has been so supportive of our robbery prevention efforts, but there are a lot of youth and others with weapons doing a lot of the robberies for the foam-posite shoes, the Helly Hansen jackets, and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. What have been some of the experiences of some of the others of you in using the Metro, for example, using a bus or using the subway? Yes, Cherie.
An experience that I've had is that I think maybe last month there was like something really, really wrong with the red line, like there always is. And it was like a 2-hour delay, and I didn't get to school till like 11. And I looked down the platform because they were only using one track. And I looked on the platform, and everybody had their phone out. And it wasn't just like they were just using it. It was like iPads, iReaders, like everything was just out here. And I was like, now if I was a really bad person, and if I really needed an iPhone, I would just walk down the track, say thank you, and keep going, and no one would pay attention. And when we had our youth forum here, I did bring up like a suggestion to maybe, and I know we have it in our pamphlets, but maybe for youth also, to say, you know, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. Like if you see my phone is all the way out here, alert me and say, hey, pull your phone in because that person's looking at you. And that really would help with like robberies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Good point. All right, we'll go over here to my right and your left, and then we'll come back over here.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Thomas, Jr. I go to Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute program. I am Deputy of Public Safety, Deputy Youth Mayor of Public Safety, and I attend KIPP College Preparatory High School. So my question is, because 2 weeks ago, I take the Anacostia train station, and so since I have track practice, I get out of school pretty late, and so when I'm at Anacostia at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night in the afternoon, there are no police forces out there, and so when I'm downstairs, it was an attempted robbery on me, and luckily, I was able to take care of the situation myself, but I just want to know, what are the actual hours for the police force after school? Because, you know, there are some schools like KIPP that get out at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and those who have extracurricular activities come out even a little later. And although the police force is out there from around 2 o'clock to 4:30, 5-ish, where are you guys at after hours for those who still have to take the train station?
We're going to get an answer to your question, but I'm curious. You said you handled it yourself. What exactly happened, and what did you do?
Okay, so it was around 7:43, and I was downstairs by myself, and I had my headphones in, and so since I had an iPhone...
You said downstairs. You were downstairs where?
Downstairs, Anacostia Station.
Okay.
So it was about 4 or 5 guys, and they didn't seem like my age. I'm, say, 18 years old, and so they seemed like they were 19, 20-ish, and so I guess they were just playing around, and they were walking real slow, so I was already alert, so I put my phone away and all that. And so one came up to me and said, give me your shoes. And I said, well, you're not going to get my shoes. And so when he tried to grab me, I just punched him, and I ran back upstairs and actually was able to take the bus back to my school, and a teacher gave me a ride home.
They didn't come after you?
I didn't look back.
Now, that's good advice, isn't it? Yeah. All right, well, Let me ask, maybe the two chiefs, one of them can answer the question.
That'd be a great Nike commercial. Hopefully they were Nike shoes. But basically, he is right. Anacostia continues to be a problem station. We're very challenged there. As Assistant Chief Groom says, we're there every day. Usually from about 2 p.m. to about 6 p.m., we detail anywhere from 4 to 8 officers there. And then after 8 p.m., we detail 2 officers there until the station closes. So sometimes you may not see them in the station platform where you were. They might be in the bus bay, or they might be out with an arrest themselves. We will continue to do that. Like Chief Groom says, Commander Robin Ho is a new 7th District commander over there. Him and I have spoken many times, and we are working in concert to do it. It helps with you, though. I mean, it really starts with the youth. And when things happen, like Shamish says, is tell us about it. Sometimes we don't know things because no one ever tells us. So we are going to continue to focus on Anacostia. You've noticed, if you've been there recently, we've changed the hand railing down there because we found out a lot of youth like to sit on the handrail. So now we put a decorative edge all the way across the handrail so you can't sit there anymore. So we're seeing the loitering is not really happening near as much as like in the past. So we're happy to see that. And we're going to start doing that at a lot of our stations to discourage people from hanging out. We do have a new camera system going in there that's going to focus on the bus bay, so we're going to use technology to help identify some of these offenders and work in concert with the D.C. Attorneys and things of that nature to, when we do catch them, that we prosecute them appropriately.
Thank you.
You heard Chief Pavlik say that I think you said 4 to 8 officers, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any of those officers when this incident happened?
No.
That's interesting. Where were you? And maybe he can tell you where they are in relation to where you were.
Okay, so I was downstairs at Endicott Station waiting for the green boat train.
Okay. Would they have been in that area, Chief?
Yeah, again, is what we do is just because, we have 86 metro stations, we only have about 450 police officers to cover that on top of our 1,500 miles that our buses run around. So we're challenged there as far as personnel, but we keep 2 there around the clock. So those 2 officers could have been topside in the bus bay area near the kiosk, on the upper mezzanine. So they try to stay together. We like patrolling in teams like that. So they could very well have been upstairs, and you just didn't see them because you were downstairs. So
they move around?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you recommend in a situation where young people will leave here feeling like, and appropriately so, that there are officers in these stations, but they may not be in eyesight all the time? What would he have, if he hadn't seen an officer, what should he have done?
Just simply approach the officer and tell them what happened.
But he said he didn't see the officer.
Well, right. If he didn't see it, then run to the station manager, the kiosk, and they could call us. Also, like Assistant Chief Groom says, call 911. That's always a great option. The key is I wouldn't encourage you to fight them and fight your offender off, so to speak. Because,
or if you do, make sure you run and don't look back, right?
right. Just because sometimes those consequences might not have a good outcome. So I would encourage you to fight. There's no piece of property that you own that's worth losing your life over, getting seriously injured over. So I wouldn't encourage that. I would simply encourage you to report it to a Metro employee. Call 911. On every train car, there's an emergency intercom button located at the end of every rail car that you can call, and it alerts the train operator. On the station pylons with the names on them, you hit the emergency button there. That'll ring the station managers. So there's a lot of different ways you can contact us, but the best bet is go see the station manager, and then we're going to respond, obviously.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You are the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice.
Yes.
In the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute?
Yes.
What is it that you are working on in that capacity? Because that's a very important role.
Well, so far we actually haven't done any work because they actually kind of they haven't laid us off, but we haven't actually had any work to do. But any ideas that I've had, I've actually wanted to speak with any chief justices about this situation because there are so many incidents that happen, not just only in my school, but in various schools throughout the district. And like most of my friends, either they see these cases or they're actually the ones that's being robbed or jumped because of the things that they have. So what I wanted to do was to actually have a meeting once every 2 weeks with a chief justice, or be in a meeting where you guys discuss about the public safety of our constituents in the district.
Do you have a group of your cohorts, your colleagues in the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute working with you on public safety issues?
No, we all have separate jobs throughout the district. So I'm public safety. There might be one for environment. He's a youth mayor, so he does things basically all around for DC. So, yeah.
So you're the only person working on that?
Yes.
What can you all recommend? I mean, every 2 weeks is kind of like a lot. That's pretty frequent. What could you all recommend in terms of helping him connect with our public safety leadership that would give him input in how he can do his job effectively with the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute?
Well, I appreciate his suggestion because, believe me, we hold many, many community meetings, and the meetings, and I know, sir, Chief Ellerby, the meetings we go to, we see those that are probably 50 years old or over. I would love to sit down with our youth and our young people. I know my school resource officers, we do have meetings, and I know Metro did have a youth forum, but I'm more than willing, and I know even our chief would be willing to sit down with the youth and hear what their issues are. It's very important to hear their voice and to hear really what's going on. And you know, when you do get robbed, attacked, it's very important that you do report it. In schools, a lot of times we play catch up because we'll hear about a robbery and then we try to follow up on it, because we do base our deployments on where things occur. So if there's always a pattern on top of the Metro, on MLK by Mellon, we'll send our resources to where a lot of things always occur. So it's very important we keep track of those.
How do you all work with the Metro Police, Chief, so that you maximize the resources that you have? You know, as Chief Pavlik was saying, I think he said 450 officers for 86 Metro stations, which means obviously when you think about, you know, the number of hours they work, that makes it pretty thin. So how do you all work in concert so that people feel as protected as they possibly can be?
Again, we do have a strong partnership with them. I know recently we joined Metro Transit. They had high-intensity patrols where we actually joined them on Metro buses. The chief also and Metro Transit recently are giving MPD bus passes. So instead of our officers like taking scout cars all the time down to court or to like their foot beats, we're taking public transportation, metros, or the Metro bus to get down to court or get to like some of our beats. That way we have more of a presence on those areas. But we do partner with them. Also, sometimes you might not see us. We have had undercover operations. Metro Transit actually last year, when robberies were on a major uptick, they, literally arrested, a lot of people for taking electronical items. But a lot of it was under the radar because they were undercover.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I give you all a lot of credit for the work that Chief Lanier and you all did in being able to disable those smartphones, right? Those iPhones, because they have no street value once they are disabled. Is that right?
Correct. For everyone out there, if you heard the term bricking, the cell phone companies through the partnership and leadership, of our chief, many chiefs throughout the country, as well as our mayor and a lot of congressmen, they forced the cell phone companies to brick them. Now we all know there's people out there that know how to unbrick. We also have a huge initiative. If some of you know, if you go to Pentagon City Mall out in Charles County, Oxon Hill, Maryland, mm-hmm. The Eco ATM machines that are accepting phones for cash, GameStop, stores like that, they are now working with us where they will not accept phones unless they're legitimate. So, we are getting the word out there that it's not worth taking phones.
Mm-hmm. Chief?
Hi, I'm Kenneth Ellerby, Chief of the Fire and EMS Department, and as a Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Justice, I would encourage you to visit each one of the public safety organizations so you get a good idea of how full Deputy Mayor Kwanda's hands are dealing with this public safety issue. I'd be happy to sit with you at some point and explain to you what goes on in fire and EMS, and without obligating the chief, I'm sure Chief Lanier or somebody else will be willing to sit down and tell you exactly what we do. So that may help you. Andy?
Thank you, Chief. And let me extend the similar invitation on behalf of the Office of the Attorney General. We sort of have similar jobs. I'm the Deputy Attorney General for Public Safety, and we handle juvenile issues, both prosecuting kids who've committed crimes, but mostly trying to keep you all safe. Those of you who are good kids and go to school, and we also bring cases against kids who are truants and don't go to school, and that's really a bad thing to do. It leads to a lot of problems down the road. So you all keep going to school every day, please, especially you young ones relying on your parents, and you older ones who go on Metro, please keep going to school. But yeah, please come and see us, and we'll be happy to tell you about what we do and how we can work with you and your group to keep you all safer.
Okay.
Thank you, Andy. You got the Attorney General's office, we got MPD, we got Metro Police, we got Fire and EMS. Before we leave here, Cedric, we need to figure out what the best way to do that is so that he can get connected. The more informed they are, obviously, the better able they will be to address some of these challenges that they face, especially in the Metro system. So I want to thank all of our officials for coming today and being a part of this as well. Commander Dandridge, how are you?
Pretty good, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Willie Dandridge, and I am the commander of the Youth Investigations Division, also a graduate of Theodore Roosevelt High School here in Washington, D.C., which we beat Coolidge. Fire chief and said, I'm going back many years. Myself and him, we kind of old, but anyway.
Yeah, it was tough between Coolidge and Roosevelt this year, wasn't it?
I'm not going to mention that, but anyway. But I'll meet with you after the meeting here, and you can come over and meet with me and my deputy over there, and we give you a rundown, a broad view of what Youth Investigations does, the type of cases, physical, sexual abuse, missing persons, the civil alerts for our seniors, amber alerts for our young kids, and some other things. Give you a broad spectrum of what's going on, and you can put it together for yourself, get some literature, and we can sit down and talk further. But I used to be the 6D commander. I also covered 70 as well as a detective lieutenant. So I know what you're going through, and I can give you some pointers on some things that you can do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Where do you live, if I may ask?
Where do I live?
Yes.
Near the Brooklyn Station.
Near what?
The Brooklyn Station?
Brooklyn Station.
Yes.
So you live in Ward 5?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. As the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, you've now connected with a lot of the officials who work in that area. So you're going to follow up with this?
Yes, that's my job.
Follow up?
Well, after this, of course, like you just said, I'll have a meeting with him, I'll have a meeting with the Chief Justice, and we're going to get this done.
Okay. You're talking about the assistant chiefs over here?
Yes.
Okay. You got the assistant chiefs, you got the Deputy Attorney General, you got the fire chief here, and you got some heavy artillery in here today. So I just want to make sure that you do connect, because I think you'll get some incredibly valuable information from all of them that will help you then impart the same information to the young people that you work with in the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute every day.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And if they would be willing to set up meetings, I don't think they can do every 2 weeks, nor do I think you need every 2 weeks. But if they would be willing to meet with you on with some kind of frequency, every couple of months or something like that, or maybe they could, if you could work it out, you might be able to get them to come to the same place at the same time and get the benefit of them, working with one another, because that's even greater, I think, than, you'll get a lot of information from each one individually, but if you can do that with them as a group, they will hear things from each other that they can help respond to as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Mr.
What does your
Mayor.
shirt say?
You said what now, sir?
What does your shirt say?
Oh, concussions and CTE hurts.
Okay, and what does it signify?
Like how youths can, dodge the being like.
Oh, your mic up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like how youths, can find better ways, like besides being concussed and stuff like that, and it's relating to sports.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you today.
Thank you, Mr. Nard.
And we got an open mic over here for those someone may want to go over. And it may just be a question. You can have, if you have a comment, if there's an issue you want to address, we'd like to hear that. or, just a comment that you may have.
All right, Mr. Mayor, my question to you today is, since you were a former student athlete, do you have any suggestions or plans on how to raise awareness and education about sports and concussion among DC students, athletes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess there were two questions: to raise awareness about sports
and education among DC student athletes.
Okay. Well, we actually are doing more with that. One of the things that we're doing, we created, and you may or may not know about it, is we created a state athletic association because, we are the District of Columbia. In fact, we used to have this basketball championship every year that was the championship between the Catholic schools and the DC public schools. And the reality is that a lot of years, the Catholic school that won the league was not in DC. Great schools like O'Connell and DeMatha, Good Counsel, Paul VI. But what was that?
Carroll High School.
Oh, Carroll is in DC. That's why I didn't say that. See, Steve? I was talking about the schools outside the District of Columbia. But we got alumni, from these schools in here who like to, they like to. But anyway, we've created a state athletic association, and the idea is to be able to get all of our schools playing competitively in the city. Get our charter schools, our DC public schools, and the private schools, which would include not only like Carroll, Gonzaga, and St. John's, but it also would include schools like Sidwell Friends. In fact, we had Sidwell Friends in the basketball championship. This is the first year we've done that tournament. We had Sidwell Friends in the tournament this year, and we had Georgetown Day in the girls' side of it. So one of the things to raise awareness that we're doing is to try to get all young people, irrespective of what school they may attend in the city, to be able to compete in an organized way against one another. And we're also, frankly, to be honest with you, we are looking even more so at some of the rules. Sadly, we had 3 public schools this year who were disqualified from, having gotten to a certain level of achievement. Dunbar, Woodson, and Coolidge. Wilson, excuse me. It was not Coolidge, it was Wilson. All were disqualified during the football season because of having young people who didn't live, in the District of Columbia participating. So the other thing we're trying to do, frankly, is to make sure the rules are clear and the rules are fully applied as they should be. And we want to have more competition, at least I do anyway. And that is, not everybody necessarily wants to play football, baseball, or basketball. We should have lacrosse programs. How many of you all know what lacrosse is in here? It is a great sport, but we don't have, I think Wilson might have a lacrosse program, but I don't think any of our other high schools have a lacrosse program. Or rugby. Who knows what rugby is in here? Yeah, we ought to have rugby programs. We have, pardon? Flag football. We should have everything, and this is one, we ought to have a session one day with our young people to say, what do you think of our athletic programs and what do we need to add to that to attract people's attention? We should be able to say that every young person has been able to find themselves in some kind of competition if they want to be competitive in the city. Some of it doesn't even have to be necessarily the classical sports. Why wouldn't we have chess competitions? Do we have chess competitions in here? This morning I was watching It's Academic. You all ever watch that? And, I was at one last year when Anacostia competed, and they did extremely well. I was very proud of Anacostia. In fact, they missed a question. They knew the answer, and the young man gave the wrong answer. The answer should have, I think the question was the capital of Nevada or something like that. And he gave the wrong, he knew the right answer, he just gave the wrong answer. But what I'm saying is there ought to be competitions much more broadly than what we have now. And I think it would be a way of getting more young people involved. And then we have to figure out how we let people know. And one of the ways we let people know is by doing this. We now have a state athletic director, and we should probably get him out, Cedric, when we do that town hall meeting. And then each area, like the DC Public Schools, they have an athletic director. I don't know if the charter schools have an athletic director now, but I guess they do at each school. And certainly the Catholic schools have an athletic director and a commissioner, and some of those private schools do too as well. So what would be good is to get them to come out also and, you know, and talk about what they do.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Ray Clark. I'm Youth Mayor of the District of Columbia. And my question to you was, as Youth Mayor and as a member of my cabinet, Mr. Thomas, as Public Safety, what would you like us to do to increase awareness about public safety as well as decrease the culture of violence amongst youth?
Well, I think what would be really helpful to me is if you all could gather the issues for us. You know, sometimes you all are going to see them from a different perspective than we do. You're going to see them from, you know, the first-hand perspective, whereas we may not. So it would be very helpful to me, you know, if the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, if the Youth Advisory Council took some time at one of the meetings and said, let's identify all the issues, and to the extent you can, some of the answers that you think would be helpful on those issues from the youth perspective. That would be fantastic as well. And then we can kind of go from there. We can figure out, working with you know, Cedric and Peter, how we organize the information and then come back at you with it. But I tell you this, I'm not going to, and I'm sure you'll understand why I'm saying this, I'm not going to say, okay, you give me all the problems and the adults will go off and figure out the answers to them. I think that would be a lost opportunity. I'd like to get from you all what you think the problems are, what you think the answers are initially, and then we'll work with you to try to add to those answers. So at the end of the, you know, end of that discussion, you all have as much ownership of that as we do.
Okay, I'll work on it.
And you're the president, so you got the gavel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are you going to follow up with that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Renaya Dinkins, and I'm a junior student at Benjamin Banneker High School. I'm also the newly elected vice chair of the DC Youth Advisory Council. I'm here because I want to refer back to what the gentleman from Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute said. I believe you're the mayor of public safety? Yes. Okay. Well, we have a public safety committee in DC Youth Advisory Council, and I don't think the chair of that committee is here today, but speaking on behalf of that committee and the DC Youth Advisory Council as a whole, we really want to participate in this effort with you all, meeting with you, and because I think all of us are working to do the same thing. So we really want to participate in that effort as well, just to refer back. So if we could talk to you guys at the end of the meeting, that'd be great. Okay, thank you.
So you're asking for the opportunity, along with the deputy mayor over here?
Yes.
To be able to meet with, when they meet with the officials, you know, the deputy attorney general, the fire chief, the two chiefs over here.
Yes.
And where did Commander Dandridge go? Oh, okay. When they meet, you want to be able to meet with him, with them?
Yes.
Okay. That's a great idea, actually. People talking to one another actually can find some pretty good solutions.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys.
And you chair the Committee on Public Safety?
I'm not. I'm the vice chair of DC Advisory Council.
Okay. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
So are you going to get together with him so you all can figure out how to do this?
I want to get him in contact with the chair of our committee, of our public safety committee.
Now, let me make something clear. I'm not going to ask one of these officials, the chiefs over here, or the fire chief, or the deputy attorney general, or I'm not going to ask them to do anything at this stage unless you all take the lead on it.
Absolutely. Okay? We're willing to take the initiative with this.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you.
Because it's your issue, not theirs, okay?
Yes.
It's theirs if you help make it theirs. How's that?
I agree.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
We got a youth over here?
No, I'm Carl Jackson. I'm Associate Director with DDOT.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me get him first.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Edward Doxson. I'm a graduate of McKinley Technology High School. Also a former member of the DC Youth Advisory Council. Now my third year at Delaware State University. Just pretty much, I've been riding Metro since 11, 12 years old. I don't ride as much as often due to me being in college, but You know, I heard the assistant chief come up here and talk about the robberies and the phone pauses and the Helly Hansen things of that nature, offering solutions. But when you really think about, you know, the robberies and talk about increasing police presence, you know, these are actually kind of community problems. You know what I mean? Not trying to make right for it, but, you know, if people don't have things, then, you know, they may result in doing things that are going out robbing someone for their shoes, money, and things of that nature. So a solution as far as like the behavior on the metro and things of that nature, maybe more of like a etiquette, public safety kind of metro class, if it's in the school system or with an organization such as DC Youth Advisory Council, just for the simple fact, because a young lady that spoke earlier and was saying, you know, I've seen it actually this week, you know, you're on Metro, you know, people just standing there, you know, with their iPad just out. You know what I mean? If you got a youth coming from Berry Farms that is, you know, on Section 8, can't afford this and the third, he wants that iPad. So, you know, not saying that is right, but that gives him, you know, okay, if I want it, I'm going to go get it. And the reason why I said it's a community problem, some youth are taught that in these communities. It's not just you wake up and you say, I'm going to go rob someone. You know, so I think that could be a solution as well as far as offering, as far as like, you know, etiquette / safety class, because, you know, when I first started riding the Metro, I'll be honest, me and my friends were loud. We were wild. We were happy to be on the train. There's some transfers and then, you know, you get the all-day transfer. We go from Mount Rainier Beach to Anacostia and things like that. So I think if you offer a class just trying to, you know, tell people how to ride Metro, what safety tips to take and things of that nature, that could help out.
Who is it that you would want to offer those classes?
Youth in the city. If you're talking from middle school to, well, in DC it's different compared to other school systems. We ride Metro, as someone said earlier, instead of the school bus. So if it's in the school system, if it's in the nonprofit organizations around the city, if it's somewhere coming from your office, something like that.
Well, who physically would actually offer the classes, though? I mean, if I hear you correctly, you're saying get youth into a place where they can hear more about Metro etiquette, or one of a better way of putting it. Who would actually conduct the classes?
If you say DC Youth Advisory Council, if you say people from Metro themselves, if you say, you know, community activists in the different neighborhoods, the recreation center, after-school programs.
Okay. By the way, I can't resist. I was not going to say this, but I would ask us not to stereotype young people who live wherever they live, okay? I happen to have spent a lot of time myself in Berry Farm. There are a lot of young people there who don't engage in, you know, criminal behavior or any of that. So if we're really going to be one city, we need to respect everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't a stereotype at all. It's just being real, to be honest. It wasn't a stereotype. I'm not saying everyone in Berry Farms or everyone in Brentwood robs. I'm just, you know.
I understand.
Shows, yeah.
All right, thank you for the
suggestion.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I'm sure that our Director Jennings has got the information on that, right? Okay. All right, sir.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm Carl Jackson. I'm the Associate Director with DDOT. The Mass Transit Division, we have a number of interesting things going on, which we can certainly use some help with the young people. Mainly in the next year or so, we're going to be rolling out a streetcar. Part of that development is that we have to have a community outreach on safety. So it's going to be in 2 phases. One phase where we actually have to work with police, fire, EMS, so that they understand the dynamics of the equipment, and the other with the community, especially the young people, so that they understand how to behave safely when we're operating in mixed traffic. So I would like to, you know, make sure that you communicate with us so that we can communicate with each other and find a way to get the message out there.
You know, you have made an incredibly excellent point, and that is we're getting ready to establish a new method of public transportation in the city with the streetcar. And as you indicated, our streetcar will be out before the end of 2013. The first line, right, will be on 8th Street from 3rd Street around Union Station out to Benning Road near Spingarn High School. Is that right?
That's absolutely
and
correct.
It would be, you know, that would be a great place to start with the kind of etiquette issues that, you know, the young man was talking about earlier. And that is what, because that's a different method. It's not a bus. It's not the train, you know, that young people ride. It's much more of a neighborhood, be much more of a neighborhood-based system. So what are the things that we can do, especially with young people, so that they recognize this is not a toy? It's a method of transportation, a community, neighborhood level of transportation, and we get off on the right foot rather than having to correct a problem we prevented in the first place.
That's correct, Mayor, and I think it's an opportunity for us to get out in front before we actually start operating in revenue service. In the next couple of months, we're going to start a process called commissioning, which will be preparing the cars in Anacostia before we put them in revenue service. And it's at that time where we'd like to start bringing people together to have familiarization with the streetcar. So anything that you can do, anything that we can do to help and work with you to try to help get the message out there, certainly, I think it would certainly benefit the community, and especially benefit the young people, because this car is going to be operating in mixed traffic. So it'll be operating with buses, and it'll be operating with trucks and cars and everything else. So how you get on, how you get off, how you behave, all of those things are going to come into play. Since it hasn't happened yet, the more that we can do before we start operating in revenue service, the better it will be for the youth and for the entire community.
So are you going to have youth involved in that?
Well, one of the things we like to do is have an outreach. We were looking at the Operation Lifesaver program, which is a standard program that they have to communicate with school districts and the youth on how to operate, how to behave safely, and how to look out for trains when they're moving. So we're looking at that as kind of an off-the-shelf program. But internally, we've brought on some staff that are specifically working on safety issues. One, they obviously work with the TOC partners at WMATA to make sure that WMATA operates safely. But we also have people that are going to be engaged with the local community program with Streetcar. And part of that will be developing the program for the community outreach. So it'd be a good opportunity for the youth to get on board before we even start running, and to kind of help bring the message to the young people that this new mode of transportation is coming. It's going to be shiny, it's going to be new, it's going to look really interesting, and but it is a very sophisticated and high-tech vehicle, and a lot of safety issues are going to have to be addressed and communicated out into the community. So we look forward to working with you. And we hope that we can do something to make sure that we can prevent any kind of incidents. We know that we're not going to be able to completely prevent incidents, but anything that we can do to mitigate incidents would certainly help.
So how do you want these dots to get connected? Because we have a lot of interesting discussions like these, and that's all they wind up being, interesting discussions.
Right.
I want to make sure that we leave here with an action plan on getting the youth engaged in developing safety features around the streetcars, because it is different. These will be running on the streets. You can get people who are behaving irresponsibly, getting off, and could walk, in the pathway of something. Or you could get people horsing around and could run in front of one of them in the streets. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I think the starting point is to first create that segue of communication with the youth, to kind of make them familiar with the vehicle, and hopefully create a few apostles amongst the deputy mayor and the various groups that can go out and help spread the message about this new technology in transportation that'll be in the district. And I think that'll be a starting point. I will make sure that you have my card, that you can contact me directly. And as we move forward, hopefully you can communicate with our safety staff so that you can be involved, maybe even participate in our tabletop exercises that we'll be having in the next few months with the other first responders, and so that you can get an idea that everyone in the city will be on the same page and be familiar with the vehicle, know how to cut power off, know how to know what exercises that we'll have for evacuation, and so on and so forth. And I think it's good that the youth be a part of that as we go forward.
Absolutely. Do you have any instructional videos that have been put together?
Well, under Operation Lifesaver, they have like off-the-shelf videos.
Yeah.
We'd like to make a few of our own as
Sure,
we're moving
of course.
forward.
Yeah.
One of the things that just happened recently is that we sent some staff out to Oregon to look at the streetcars being built. So we're starting to collect a database of photographs. And we're starting to see things in the undercarriage and the truck, which is basically the wheels and the wheel assembly of the streetcar, and so on and so forth, so that we can know what the various pinch points around the streetcar is, and so that we can communicate it back to the community. In that process, we can take that information. We'll naturally be sharing that with fire, EMS, and other first responders, but also bring that to the youth. And hopefully it'll be either through Operation Lifesaver. We're also looking at working naturally with UDC. We've been having meetings with UDC, and we've been having meetings with DPS, and we're looking to do some other creative things in terms of engaging the youth in this new technology. But safety in public transportation is the first importance, and when we train our operators, when we train our supervisors, the first thing that they have to understand is that it has to be a safe mode of transportation. So
Can I,
we'd like
can I
to have
ask you, as you plan the videos that will be developed here?
Well,
wait a minute.
Go ahead.
If you do, that you actually engage in the video a youth or two, because they're going to be listened to a lot more so than some of us as these young people look at these things.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So you all will connect?
Will do.
Okay. We're going to go over, but before I do that, come here for a minute. See that man leaning on that pole back there? You know who he is?
No, sir.
He is the deputy mayor for public safety and justice in the city. What's your title?
Deputy Mayor of Public Safety.
I want you to meet him, okay? Before you came in, Paul, he cited a situation that was very well stated, and he got some of the other law enforcement officials in the room engaged in a discussion with him. And I really think he should meet you, because he's kind of your counterpart on the youth side, and it would be good if he could connect with you. In fact, before you came in, Chief Allaby said that he ought to have an appreciation for the complexity of your job, and I happen to agree with that. So I want you to go back there and introduce yourself to Deputy Mayor Quander, okay? All right. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Blackney, and my question is for Mr. Mayor and the officer over there. My question is, how do you feel about the school shooting fatalities that taking place across the nation?
How do I feel about?
School shooting fatalities.
Oh, well, some of the absolute, there are very few things I've seen that have been worse than that. You're talking about situations like what happened in Connecticut at Sandy Hook, where this person went in and shot up the school and killed all of those kids. Those are the kind of situations you're talking about? Mm-hmm. And those are not children's issues. The children are the victims in those situations. It's clear to me, and I've marched, I've talked about it, but there's much more that has to be done in terms of curbing gun violence in our country. And the worst part is we don't really have, very many national standards. I mean, we have the Second Amendment, which says people can carry guns, but I don't believe can own and possess guns, but I don't believe that our founding fathers of this nation had in mind what we're dealing with today. I mean, I can't imagine anybody would have envisioned an assault rifle at the time that they were putting together the Constitution and the Second Amendment part of that Constitution. We need to do a lot more. I wish the country would do some of the things that we've done in this city, like background checks. Everybody know what background checks are? That somebody who wants to buy a gun has to go through a background review to know whether you really are a responsible person or not. And it's pretty obvious to me that some of the people who committed some of these awful crimes were people that never should have been in possession of a gun. And if we had background checks, at least we would take a lot of people out of it. That doesn't necessarily stop the people who are illegally engaging in guns, but it would cut down on a lot of the possession of guns that we see now. So, you know, having delays and people being able to, if they purchase a gun, there's a period of time that goes by before you can pick up a gun. I'd be interested in some of the thoughts that you have on what we need to do, because almost without exception, the youth have been the victims of, you know, somebody's criminal activity who may be mentally ill in many instances.
Thank you.
Well, I thought maybe you might have an idea too. Come on back into this microphone. Do you have some ideas on what we ought to do?
One of my ideas was the educational shield that me and my team over there that we had made. The educational shield is a product of how we think of, like, if a person that's coming in.
Is that this?
Yes.
I actually read this. Go ahead.
It's a shield, like, where every single door, like, say for instance that door, and if somebody was coming in and start shooting, the background that from the shooting, it will automatically come down and will shut down everything. And like say for instance, you know where like a storage unit where it have a roll down cage. That's what it would kind of look like, but it would be a bulletproof glass. But the thing about it is about the thickness of the glass that we still think about, because we thinking about a level 5 unit that's taking place for shotguns and rifles and pistols that is weighted for 15 pounds, and it couldn't weight it for like a regular door. So we still thinking of ideas how we could produce the educational shield.
What would you do about something like happened in Connecticut at Sandy Hook, where this man walked into the school, you know, with a gun and just walked into the classroom? I don't think, obviously, no one knew he was coming or expected something that awful to happen. How would you deal with something like that?
Well,
I'm not sure the door would have helped in that instance, would it?
From the watch, it's a gunfire detector that have the sound of the gun, and any teacher, like my teacher over here, Dr. Slocum, she would see the person, and then she would automatically push the button. Then all the cages from every single door will come down, and he will be trapped until the police officers safely come in and take him away.
Suppose he's got the gun concealed and he just walks in the school.
Well, he couldn't put it anywhere because all doors and stuff will be locked down, and all the lockers and stuff, you won't even put nothing anywhere. He will be trapped in one place.
Do you think we should have armed guards in school?
No.
No. Some people do.
Well, 68% of our schools say no, and only 24% say yes.
Well, the best way to handle it is come with the data, right? So, what'd you say, Andy? The poll. Yeah, the poll, right? Did you say 68%?
Mm-hmm.
And said they should not.
Yes.
And 24 said they should.
I mean 22.
Well, 32. 68 and 32. 68% said they should not be, and 32% said they should be. Some have talked about the teachers themselves being armed. I can't even picture that. You know, where you got a teacher, you know, strapping on a gun in a classroom. That's beyond me even being able to picture something like that. But there are those now who believe that at the door there should not only be a guard, but that guard should be armed. So you don't believe that a guard should be armed?
Well, on our survey, only 50-50 only said that they should, and 50% say not.
Okay, but what do you think?
I say no, because like one day, like if they get really angry, they'll probably do it. Like come around and shoot everybody.
The guards?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'd really be in trouble then, wouldn't we? If the guards start shooting up the place. So what do you do? I mean, what do you do if there's nobody in there who can fend off someone with a weapon? What do you do?
Well, we would use the educational shield.
But that also requires somebody to know that, let's say I'm the guy, you know, I got a gun down in my pocket, small enough to keep in my pocket. How would anybody know that I'm walking in there with a gun? Go to your microphone. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Donika. My question was, why would he come inside the building and you have security or person that's supposed to be at the door? He should be checked before he walks inside the building. So he shouldn't be able to have a gun inside the building.
Should. I agree with you, he shouldn't, but people have been able to get away with that. Have you all studied why people were able to get into the building? We get a little help over here. Who are you getting that help from?
This is one of my teammates, Angel Collins.
Okay. Would you?
We plan to put a man-trap door in front of each school entrance because you have to walk through it and it scans the entire person to see if there's any metal objects or actually anything that can actually hurt anyone else in the school building. And if they do have something, then the security guards can take them down.
So like a magnetometer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So all this that you all want to construct, how much will that cost?
We haven't got really a number yet.
Okay. That might be a good thing to do to try to figure out what the cost is and then whether people will be willing to invest. We have a lot of schools in the city. We have about 100 and, let's see, I'm going to take off the 15. We still have about 110 schools. Then we have another, I don't know, 60 or 70 charter schools, maybe more than that when you count all the campuses, another 100. So we have about 210 schools, just in public schools. Do you think we could pay for that?
Yes, because for most likely, instead of using bulletproof glass, we can use a different, much cheaper supplies that we already pretty much have. It doesn't involve inventing anything. We're using objects that's already been invented and already can be used in average school buildings that wouldn't really cost that much.
Would you mind if I gave you an assignment?
Okay.
I think you could make a stronger case if you not only could say, this is what it is, this is how it works, this is why it will reduce violence or prevent violence, but this is what it would cost. Because people are going to ask the same question I just asked, and that is, how much is it going to cost? Can we afford to do this? And of course, part of the answer is maybe you can't afford not to do it, okay? Because of the life that's, put in jeopardy. But at the same time, so you are going to be working on this for the rest of the year? Can I ask you to do a budget?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know your teachers will work with you. I can see your teacher sitting in the back row saying, I just can't wait to work on that part of their assignment. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, I'll pass it around. They got a pretty clever thing that's been put together. And I read this earlier today, and it's easily read. It's not a lot of words. They got photographs. They got diagrams. A lot of work went into this. Do you all get a grade for this? No. That's even better in some respects. Is it all right if I pass this around for people to see? Okay, so they don't need me to pass this around, huh? Why don't y'all pass out the brochures? Yes, ma'am.
I just realized that I didn't introduce myself earlier. So my name is Nia Williams, and I'm a ward representative from the Mayor's DC Youth Advisory Council. And I just wanted to piggyback kind of off of what was said earlier about educating our youth with classes and even integrating them with the information that is given out. I think that personally, as youth, when we're educating our youth about what should be done, it should come from their counterparts. So there should be maybe brochures or even videos, or even the classes themselves can be taught by youth who have been trained by the professionals. And I guess it would be just a better way for the youth to be able to retain the information and get the information if it's coming from someone who they know and who they see on a regular basis.
I happen to wholeheartedly agree with you on that. That's why, where'd the gentleman from DDOT go? He stepped out. Would he be stepping back in? Yeah, it really wasn't so much of a question. It was really an affirmation of earlier saying that if we want to be effective with this, we can be effective, but I think we could be more effective if we figure out the best ways to involve youth in this. You know, so often, and you know, it just goes on from one year to the next, we do stuff for young people. Yes. And then at the end of the day, we wonder why they don't pay attention. It's almost as if we were never young ourselves, right? And the reason why they don't pay attention is because, you know, what's the old saying? If you didn't invite me to the takeoff, don't invite me to the crash landing. So I think she's making that point quite dramatically, and this is an issue where I think we can get them involved right on the front end of this, and then they see themselves in this, and hopefully we'll take some responsibility for it. You're welcome to add to that if you like.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. I definitely agree that including youth will, I guess, make them feel more valid and useful. You know, oftentimes, I guess, we think that youth, their points aren't valid, but they do bring a lot of significant information to the table. And because they are youth, they see a lot of things that we don't see because they're actually involved. And if we learn to include them, sometimes their ideas or may not be things that we use at that time, but we can put them in the back burner and maybe later use their ideas at another time. But all of their ideas are to some degree, you know, they're useful. Even if we don't use your ideas, we welcome them. And I think letting youth know that they mean something, they make a difference, is significant for all of them. I actually had the opportunity of sitting in on a presentation that the youth from Jefferson made. They did on on transportation about 2 weeks ago. You guys remember me? Yeah. And they did a phenomenal job, and it's just wonderful to see youth voicing their ideas and their teacher, Dr. Slocum, supporting that issue. So if we support our youth in the positive way, you know, in the positives, because they have a lot to say, and we should stand by them and listen to them. So I commend you, youth, for all that you're doing and your ideas, and coming out today on a Saturday, whereas most, you know, a lot of kids are home or playing video games or doing all kinds of other things that they are doing, but you guys have taken the time and initiative to come out and voice your opinion to the mayor and all of these high officials here. So I applaud all of you. So I certainly will continue to speak with my supervisor here, Mr. Jackson, and let him know, you know, how valid it is to include the youth in the upcoming projects or videos that we are trying to put together for the new streetcar. And I met you online the other day, Mr. Cedric. Thank you for your email of, you know, letting me know that the times had changed, because I would have been here at 12 and I probably would have left. I am not a DC resident, but I work for the District Department of Transportation, and I have my daughter here who is a student at Trinity University, so, you know, she catches the subway as well, so it's important for me as a parent and for my child to be safe on the subway and the bus entities and all. So I'm enjoying, I'm certainly glad that I came. I didn't have to be here, but I'm glad that I did take the time out, because it certainly has been informational for me. So thank you for my little time.
Well, I'm glad you came too, and I think we have a very unique opportunity, and that is to put some information together with young people, not for young people, but with them, that is on the front end of a brand new endeavor here in the city. And you don't get, you know, new initiatives of this magnitude very often. So this would be a lost opportunity. So thank you for being here. All right, we're going to go over here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon.
My name is Stephen Arick, and it's about, like, if it's a robbery and the police, and you call the police and they don't come, and the metro officer come and they have to handle it, what do you do?
If the metro office, if the MPD doesn't come?
Yeah.
And what about metro?
If they have to handle it and they call the police and they don't come, what do you do?
Well, let me ask, did you all hear the question over there?
I wasn't clear on it, sir. Was it that we didn't respond?
Yeah, I think he was saying you called the police and they didn't show up, right?
Yes.
What do you do? We hear that from some adults.
Right. I'm not sure if he's referring to 911 like in a residential setting where MPD would be the lead, or in the DC Metro. Again, you can contact any Metro employee who can call the transit police directly, and then we have our own. Unfortunately, it's a 7-digit number. We can't have a 911 system like MPD because of the tri-state jurisdiction. We can't get all 3 jurisdictions to agree on a number like 311 or 911 that would come directly to the transit police. So unfortunately, we do have to deal with a 10-digit number to contact us directly. Or if you call 911, the call would be routed from the DC command center to the transit police dispatcher. So if one doesn't show up, I would call again or seek out a Metro employee or go through DC 911 system if it's an emergency.
Can you tell him what a tri-state jurisdiction is?
Yes, I apologize, sir. Metro Transit Police are very unique. We're not a federal police department. We're the only police department in the United States that has tri-state jurisdiction, and which that means is the Metro Transit Police has the power of arrest in Maryland, the District of Columbia, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we're the only police department that has that ability to cross state lines other than a federal law enforcement officer, and with the ability to apprehend a person.
Chief?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, that is a good question. As you said, Mayor, we do get complaints where people said, I called the police, they did not show up. Just so everyone in here knows, every 911 call is tracked. So when we do get complaints like that, we can find out, what happened. Did the officer get sent to a different location, or did an officer just not go, so we can address that? I would suggest call 911 again, or, there's police stations maybe where you live, or if you do see a police officer, just flag them down and respond there to make sure it is reported. But if we do not respond, we can definitely follow up and see what occurred.
We should have had Jennifer Green here, shouldn't we, Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Jennifer Green is the person who runs our Office of Unified Communications, where all the calls in. A lot of people don't realize, I don't know whether you knew that or not, but when you call 911, do you know where the call goes, young man?
Yes.
Where?
It goes to the station.
Where?
It goes to a police station.
Oh, is that where it goes? No, it doesn't. See, we have people now who work together. They take the calls for the fire department. They take the calls for the police department. Who else do they take the calls for, Deputy Mayor?
Any and all city services through the 311 number. But for emergency services, it's the police and fire. So if you need Metro Police, you can dial 911. Anytime you need an emergency personnel for police, for fire, for medical purposes, things of that nature, 911. But for any city service that you need, you can also call 311, and that operates out of that same building, which is at 2700 Martin Luther King Avenue, and it's the Office of Unified Communications. And you can imagine why I got its name, because we unified all the different communication assets into one location so that we could do just what Chief Groom said. If there's a call, we can track it. Everything is recorded. So we want it to be as responsive as we can. So that's where everything is located, and that's the central hub for all of our communications.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I think we have this young lady over here. You know what, we're going to take the people who are in line because our time is starting to wind down. We're going to take you and then these 2 young men over here. Is that all right? Anybody have something that they have a burning desire to ask or comment on? If you do, if you go to the line now, we'll take you, but otherwise we'll assume it's just these 2 gentlemen and this young lady over here.
Good afternoon. My name is Whitney Henry. I'm a senior, and I attend Blue Senior High School. I'm mainly here to discuss a problem and what I think a solution to it can be. I've been attending Blue since my 9th grade year, And the biggest problem is the entrance to school. They have this system set up called tardy hall, where after 8:45...
What is it called?
It's called tardy hall.
Oh, tardy hall, okay.
So where after about 8:45 or 8:50, they shut down the doors to the school completely. And then you have about 70 to 75 students standing outside the building waiting for entrance, but they won't open the door back up to like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So you have administration walking past the school entrance while you have students outside, and it's referred to where truancy have to come in. But my thing is, if you have about 75 to 80 students standing outside of a high school, what do you expect to come from that? You're gonna have conflict, you're gonna have controversy, all because it's little things as to why they don't let us in the building. It could be because your pants don't match the color that they expect, because your pants are not tan and they're gold, they won't let you in. Or if because you have like cookies or a soda, they won't let you in. They'll literally have a stack of letters sitting at the front metal detector ready for the kids to send them home, where truancy have to come in and react. So all up the MLK area and the Congress Heights area, you have students that was supposed to be in school walking around, and their parents are not contacted because their parents are expecting, like, once you leave the house, you're going to school. But my biggest problem is it's our administration. Our administration is the reason why there's so many kids on the street after 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because they won't let us in school. I mean, you got people out here promoting go to school, but over at Ballou, it seems as if they rather have us outside of the building than in the building, because they focus on small things like uniforms and food and cell phones and IDs, and it's just small things that I think we can have less kids on the street if they let us in the building.
Well, let me ask you a question so I'm clear. Were they there at the time they should have been there?
Yes, like they let about 5. We have a girls' entrance and a boys' entrance, and then the seniors, we have the front door entrance. And we have a tech level, and so they enter through Ballou Stay. So they let about 10 girls in at a time. And when the young ladies come in, they have jewelry, they have multiple accessories they have to remove. You have to swipe your ID to turn in your cell phone every morning. And if students forget their ID, their name have to be typed in. Usually they'll send them home and not contact the parents. So what you letting 5 and 10 girls in at a time, and our security staff is really, really slow because they socialize with the students instead of getting them in the building. They're more socializing, worrying about what they had for breakfast, or where's your cell phone at today? Is you cuffing it in your boot? Like, they socialize more than getting us in the building. So that's the biggest problem.
Well, let me ask you a question, because this is something I think we'll want to follow up on. But if the students know there's certain things they're not supposed to bring into the school, why do they bring them in the first place?
Well, we have hard-headed kids at our school. I agree with that. But as far as the cell phone issue, as far as the food go, it'll be a different list every day. Like, one minute we can bring in a cup of noodles, and by the next morning you can't have cup of noodles, and if you do, you have to go home. We understand since the Healthy Schools Act issue took place, we can no longer bring in chips and soda and everything, so they stopped that. So kids are bringing things like Pop-Tarts and graham crackers and everything, and the security still find a reason to turn them away because of the food. So I feel like our principal and our assistant principals, they have a lack of communication with the students, and they leave the job up to the security guards to deliver their messages, to delay whatever thoughts they have towards the student body. They leave it to our security guards. So there's unclear messages because we have about 20 security guards, if that many, in the building during the day. And I don't think they can do the job of a principal or an assistant principal or whoever it is that's supposed to communicate with us.
Have you had a chance to express any of this to the leadership in the school?
As far as our principal and stuff, he's never visible. So we cannot interact with our principal. As far as our assistant principals, we have about 10, and you never know directly who to go to. Like, there was a situation that I was in.
Why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask them which one you should go to?
We do, and then they'll give us the runaround, and then we'll talk. The students will talk to our teachers about the problem, and our teachers will state like they feel like all the weight is put on them because our assistant principals and our principals don't come from behind the doors of their offices. Like we really have a lot of mess going on over at our school. Like we have a behavior team, and they have about 5 different men on it, and they're generally the visible ones, but they have to deal with the suspensions, and they have to deal with the parents that come in our school with rage. Because there was an incident last month. I had a doctor's appointment, and my mother was bringing me into the front door, and the security guard told my mother she couldn't bring me into school because it was 11:30, and my mother was like, well, it's not like I'm sending her with a written pass. I'm not calling in. I'm bringing my daughter to school myself. I'm ensuring that she's here. And the security guard was like, well, ma'am, you have to take it up with the principal. These are Mr. Branch rules, and we can't go against what he says, so you have to take her home. So my mom, she let the situation go. She came back that Friday, though, and because they told her that...
So you went home?
Yeah, my mom took me home because she didn't want to debate and cause a disruption during school. So she came back Friday when security told her that she could meet with Mr. Branch. She was sitting in the main office for about 45 minutes to an hour, and she never actually got the meeting with the principal. She had it with an assistant principal over at our school, and she didn't really address the situation. She just said, we apologize, Ms. Henry, for the inconvenience that happened that morning. We're going to try to do things to ensure that it never happened again. But me personally, when it's time to transition between class, I see it happen a lot. It's like it's just a big issue over
Do you all have a student government association,
Yes,
whatever
we-
you may call it? You do? You don't?
We have a student
You do.
government association, but
Are they at all effective in dealing with these kinds of problems that the students experience?
no, because our student government was chosen based off popularity. So we have a basketball player as a president, and we have a football player as a vice president. So their main focus is
Who selected them?
the students. And when it came down, and like for our as far as our senior class, because I ran to be senior class president, and I lost the election to a basketball player mainly because she was popular with everyone, so they thinking like she gonna speak more on behalf of our athletic section, and they didn't really, at first the students didn't really care what I was stating in the speech as far as talking to our assistant principals and everything. And now that we're in the last 2 months of our senior year, it's complaints, and all I hear every day is, oh, Whitney, you should have been the president, this and this and that. But it was up to them to vote who they let in as our SGA. So now we have complaints about our senior trip not taking place because of the funds and the expenses and everything. Or we have complaint that the basketball team and football team get more attention. Only time the principal come out is during a basketball game or something like that.
Did you go to the basketball game at the Verizon Center?
Yes, I saw you.
Well, it was a great accomplishment by Ballou to be in that game in the first place. I think you made some really good points. How would you like us to try to help you follow up on this?
I would appreciate that a lot because not only, although I'm graduating, I have younger siblings that just started Blue. This is their freshman year. And I want it to be, I mean, school it's not going to be smooth sailing 100%, but I would like my sisters to go to a high school where they don't have to struggle to get in school in the morning, or because they forgot their ID, they have to walk home and sit outside the door, wait for my mother to come back from wherever she may be running errands, because my parents don't believe in teenagers having keys to the house. So my sisters and I, it was a time we were sent home because of our IDs, and we was sitting in the hallway, and my mother looking at us like, what are you doing in the hallway at 9:45? And I dropped y'all off to school, and we had to tell her they sent us home.
You know, I don't know who the president is, but I think he would have been a pretty good president also.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Jennings to connect with you because you've raised some really good issues. I'm sure we'll want to hear from the leadership of the school, but I actually have seen, not recently, but a few years ago, what they used to do was the young people who showed up late at Ballou, they would sit in like this cafeteria, this community room area, and I've seen as many as 100 to 125 kids sitting in there doing nothing until the first period starts. Now, I'm not sure I have any great answers to that either, because if class has already started, do you just let people walk in to a class that's already in progress? But those are the issues that obviously require a solution. Of course, the best solution would be for those who are late would be to show up on time. That would be a good start. But can you get with Mr. Jennings, and we'll try to follow up with you?
Okay.
What do you think of the new school?
Well, so far, they told us that our project has been stopped, but I'm definitely looking forward to my sister's.
It's not being stopped. I can tell you, so you'll know firsthand. There were some issues around cost, and we had to work through those costs. But I heard somebody saying at one point they thought the school wasn't going to be built, which is absolutely false. There will be a new Ballou High School.
Okay.
And you can tell the folks that I said it, okay? There will be a new Ballou High School. There's no way that high school is not going to be built. So if you'll get with Mr. Jennings, then we'll follow up and see what we can do to be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, gentlemen, you all going to get the last words over here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon.
My name is Marcel Robinson. I go to Randall Highlands Elementary School, like most of the kids in here on this side. And my question is to you that everybody takes a break who works in the station, right? So if you're about to get on a train and then you're all by yourself, and then you get robbed of your cell phone, and the station manager out on her break and she ain't nowhere to be found, who else would you be able to go to or contact somebody?
Basically, is what you could do at that point in time is you can see the train operator. If the train hasn't left the station, usually there's a custodial there. If you're in a big station like Anacostia, you go up to any one of the buses that are there. But traditionally, when they take breaks, they're usually relieved. The only time they're not relieved if it's a bathroom break, but if they're going to take a meal break, they are relieved by another station manager.
Okay, thank you.
Did that help you? Okay. Good question.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is BJ Ba, and I have a question. There have been a lot of incidents by Metro, and how would you feel if Metro was canceled so no more incidents could happen?
If Metro was what?
Canceled.
Canceled. I wouldn't feel very good about that. Want me to tell you why?
Why?
First of all, there would be a lot of people that would be inconvenienced because they couldn't get around the city. And secondly, I'm not one of these people who's going to give in to the desperados. I'm not going to let the desperados run me out of town. You going to let them run you out of town? That the only way we can solve a crime problem is by stopping the services and don't do it anymore? I think we need to just deal with it head on. Have you had a problem with crime at a metro station?
No.
Do you know somebody who has?
But I've heard.
Oh, well, okay. We do hear lots of things, don't we? Let me ask you a question. Would you recommend that we get rid of Metro because we don't like the level of crime that's going on there?
Well, I wouldn't. Well, I would say that we should keep Metro, but other people should make sure that they're safe so they don't get into incidents by Metro.
I think we all completely agree with you on that. That's why the two chiefs and Commander Dandridge, the people who are here, the fire chief, the deputy attorney general, that's why they're all here today. And I'm glad that they came because I think I can speak for them. They all agree with you that we should do everything we possibly can to make it as safe as we possibly can. And we wanted you all to try to have a chance to express to us today some of the concerns that you have and some of the answers that you have and how we can make sure we listen to young people. Because a lot of times adults don't listen to young people. They assume the young people don't have any answers, that you're too young to really know the problem and too young to know the answer, and sometimes we forget that we were young, ourselves. So thank you very much for your question.
I have another question.
Okay.
Since there have been a lot of incidents by guns, since people have been coming and shooting people, and people have been saying that they would like to end gun violence, but if they end gun violence, where would they put their guns so they can go away?
Where would they put their guns?
Yeah, so they can go away.
Maybe they shouldn't have them in the first place. That's one of the things that I was talking about earlier, that we have people who have guns who should never have guns. That's why we should have people who do background checks to make sure that somebody is a responsible person to have a gun. It's why we should know who people are when they go in to buy a gun. We should know something about them before they are able to do that. That's what's happened with a lot of these awful situations like we saw in Connecticut with all of those young people who were shot in that school. You were dealing with somebody who never should have had a gun in his hand. He never should have been able to get a gun. We've got a long ways to go, and I would recommend that, especially the young people who are here today, work with your teachers and figure out the best way to get that message into our Congress. That's where the difference is going to be made. You know, the president has stepped up, the vice president has stepped up and said, here are the things that we think should happen, all of which I support. I think they're good steps in the right direction. If you look at the District of Columbia's laws, right, Andy? We have some pretty strong gun control laws in the city. But every state can do pretty much its own thing. And there are people who will say that we have a constitutional right to be able to carry a gun. I don't think you have a constitutional right to go in and shoot up a school. And people wind up with guns in their hands who do things that they should never have been able to do in the first place. So people who have problems with anger and violence and have emotional problems, they shouldn't be permitted to have a gun in the first place. But we've got a long ways to go in this country to be able to prevent that from happening. Cedric, do you want to close this out? All right. Okay.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone again, our young people, for coming out with all of your wonderful ideas. And I was talking with some of the members from the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute and the Youth Advisory Council, and they have the wheels in their minds turning about ways that they're going to come together and actually work together on this issue of public safety, just in general, but especially as it relates to our metro system. So thank you again for coming out. Also, I'd like to announce again that our next town hall meeting will be held next month, Saturday, April 20th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Charles Sumner School Museum and Archives, located at 1201 17th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. And we look forward to our young people coming out as the mayor will discuss his FY14 proposed budget for children and youth in the District of Columbia.
What we ought to do is encourage our teachers to review the budget. They'll have had it for about 3 weeks by that time to review the budget with their students before they come.
Absolutely, and what we will do, Mr. Mayor, we'll make sure that we get it posted to the various websites so that the students and teachers can have access to the budget, which is proposed for children and youth, which we normally have every year. Okay, so definitely. And if you, for more information about the Youth Advisory Council and for other activities related to youth in the city, you can always visit the District of Columbia Youth Advisory Council website at www.dcyac.dc.gov, as well as following us on Facebook and Twitter. We're under the District of Columbia Youth Advisory Council. You can like us on Facebook. All right, so thank you so much, and don't forget to sign in, as well as the resource tables. Please take advantage of the resource tables that are around with some great information of programming for youth in the city. Thank you again.